Welcome to Dollars and Cents, a monthly finance podcast presented by Altra Federal Credit Union and the Leighton Media Podcast Network.
Welcome back to another episode of Dollars and Cents here on the Leighton Media Podcast Network. We are joined by Tara Mayberry. She is a real estate market manager with Altra Federal Credit Union. Tara, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Of course. So we are going to be talking about real estate today, specifically residential lending, which is kind of your area of expertise. Tara, tell us about, first of all, residential lending as far as what you guys do, what maybe people out there should know about what they might encounter when they are looking for, to get a house and that lending process.
Sure. So Altra is a credit union here in Winona, and we have several other locations in Wisconsin and a couple of other states. But with what we do here at Altra, we have several different programs that we can put our borrowers into. And what we do recommend is reaching out to a lender that is specific to your market. So locally here in Winona, Tammy Guile at our Winona location, and getting pre-approved or setting up an appointment to kind of go over where you're at right now. Sometimes people are ready to buy immediately, and sometimes people need a little bit of help. They don't know how much they need for a down payment. They don't know how much they need for closing costs. They don't know what type of buying power they have. So when you meet with your lender, that's the opportunity to go over like some of those questions and just really kind of feeling out where you're at so you can start talking to a realtor. The realtors in the area definitely appreciate it when you get pre-approved, because then they can also be looking within your budget and not looking outside of that range, getting you into a payment that you're comfortable with. So one of the first steps, like I mentioned, is getting pre-approved with your lender. So Altra does have an online application that you can fill out, and that's a great way to get started. Some people prefer to meet in person, which we can also do. And like I mentioned, Tammy in our Winona location can set up appointments with you to go over the details. But just knowing like what your buying power is, we do pull credit. So reviewing that with you. And even if your credit is a little lower at that first appointment, we can help you make that credit score grow. We can help you save to buy a home. We have financial wellness coaches at Altra that can also take the time. Your lender will also take the time with you. And then, like I said, saving for a down payment is also something to consider. And Altra has, CDs that you can put your money in. We have a home buying certificate. We have money markets. We also have financial advisors at Altra to help you along the way. So lots of tools to get that process started. But once you get pre-approved or start talking to your lender and you know where your buying power is, that's when we can look at other programs for you as well. And Altra has several programs that we can look at. We're always looking for new investors, but we also try to look for programs that we can service at Altra. And what I mean by that is when you talk to us at Altra, you're going to be talking to us even after your loan closes, because we service your mortgage. We don't sell it off to other financials. So you only call Altra when you have questions, which I think is a huge benefit in working with a local lender like Altra, because we want to make sure that we are taking care of our members and somebody else isn't. We want to make sure your questions are answered so that we can take care of them all right away for you. And that kind of works the same way with even like our process. All of the people that we work with are local. So like our underwriters are local. So if a situation isn't quite the norm, we have somebody that we can call and talk to see if we can get your loan approved and moving forward. So like I said, that pre-approval is the first step that we want everyone to take. Yes.
Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely.
That really gets you started in the right direction. We can get you the information you're looking for, talk about what those payments are going to be as well. I did kind of mention down payment too. One of the things that we're always looking for too is just down payment options. So we have programs with as little as 1% down for a down payment. And then we also have a program we can look into for like lower income households. It's a down payment plus program that we have available. And if you qualify, we can actually have down payment assistance available for you. Not everyone is going to qualify, but it is out there for those that need it. So like I said, we like to look at all these different things that can help our members start getting into that home in the future. And if you don't know a realtor, once you are pre-approved, we have suggestions for you as well. We work with a lot of local agents here. They're all great. And, we can fit you up with somebody who's going to, work with you well. So we also have definitely a lot of referrals that we can give to you when you're ready to start moving forward with that purchasing.
Tara Mayberry is our guest. She is a real estate market manager at Altra Federal Credit Union. We're talking about residential lending, home buying here on the Dollars and Cents podcast. When you talk about the different programs that you guys have, is that kind of because, there's no one size fits all when it comes to lending, right? So you have somebody come to you, all those programs are advantageous to say, hey, you fit into this program or you fit into this program. It's kind of something to help everybody. Is that the aim of that?
Yes, that is correct. Because not everyone has a 20% down payment. Some people only have, as little as 1%, like I mentioned. So that first-time home buyer program that we have available is great for those true first-time home buyers that don't have a lot saved yet. Maybe they've just gotten started in their career. They're young, they're just starting out. They haven't had a chance to save a lot of dollars. We also have FHA, which is also another great program. Lower down payment. The rates also tend to be a little lower on those as well. So it's, again, just another program that's available to our borrowers. VA lending, we have that also, which is as little as 0% down. So that's another great program. Not everyone's going to qualify for that, obviously, but it's another program that we can definitely fit you into if it makes sense. And then we have conventional conforming lending. So that's between like 3 to 5% down is usually what we're looking at there. Credit scores, like I mentioned earlier, also play into a lot of these programs, and they all have different credit scoring requirements. Your score doesn't have to be perfect, though, and I think that sometimes is a misconception. Like, people think, oh, I have bad credit, I can't get a home. Well, that's not always the case. Like, we can help you improve your credit, and it does take time for that to improve, but if you're in good standing, there are programs out there for you as well. And your lender is definitely the one that can help you get into that right program.
Do you guys, obviously you remember, I'm sure, as a lot of people out there listening to this will, the housing bubble and the way that burst and some of the predatory lending and the stories that we saw come out of that. Do you guys ever have to have those hard conversations with people? Maybe somebody comes to you, they really want to buy a home, but they just aren't ready at that time. Will you say, you know what? You might not be ready right now. You don't have the capital. You don't have the credit, but let's work with you. Let's get there eventually. Is that sometimes a conversation that has to be had?
Oh, 100%. Yep. And like I mentioned, we have financial wellness coaches as well. So you have your lender that you go to, and they can certainly give you suggestions. But if that person or that member needs a little bit more help or wants more guidance throughout the process, we have several tools at Altra that can be used to help keep somebody going in that right direction. So even though you don't get the home loan immediately, we can definitely help you get there. So using those tools, using the other people at Altra that work there, are definitely ways to kind of get yourself moving forward so you can get into that home.
What kind of unique challenges, for a home buyer or a person selling a home do we have here in Southeast Minnesota or in Southwest Wisconsin, where you guys mostly operate?
Sure. So inventory is still a bit of a struggle. We've definitely had some good months this year in 2025, and I do think the realtors are pretty happy with the volume that they've had this year. But we do still have that challenge of inventory, inventory out there. The interest rates, because they have been higher the last few years, have definitely created some affordability issues, which then also turns into people don't want to list their homes because they've got a really good rate and they don't want to go to a higher rate. So they're thinking about it a little bit longer than they typically would. But now that a few years have passed with those slightly higher rates, I think that people are getting used to them. You do see them moving a little bit more, but they're still very cautious. They don't want to make a decision too quickly. So I do think like inventory is definitely still a bit of an issue out there. Predatory lending, I mean, you're always going to have like those cold calls, right? So I would suggest if you get a cold call from somebody, you're very careful and cautious with the information that you give them. You know we're local. You can trust us. So I really like to push that because we are really truly working for our member.
Yeah.
We're a credit union, and that's what we're there for. When you're getting those cold calls, it's not so much. Like we do see people get half of the information and then they find out more later. So asking a lot of questions if you are talking to somebody else is really important. And making sure that you're getting all of the information before moving on to someone else. But like I said, I am really a promoter for like local businesses, local credit unions, because we're here to support the community.
Well, and I think it's a big deal that you guys hold the loan the whole time. I mean, because, I remember when we bought our first home, my wife and I, it seemed like it was sold 2 or 3 times within like the first year or two. And it's like tracking it from who actually has our loan now, that can be almost like a part-time job, to figure out where it's gone. And it's a bit disconcerting because you think to yourself, well, I didn't authorize this to be sold, but you don't really have any say over it, So I think it's important that they can come right to you guys all the time. That's a big deal. So I was thinking about, say I'm a teenager or a 20-something, I'm graduating from college. I'm not ready to buy a home right now, but I think in the future, I am going to want to buy a home. Would it be, best case scenario or very advantageous to start making a plan for that, maybe when you're in your early 20s or mid 20s, when a lot of us don't have a lot of capital, maybe we've been a little irresponsible with our credit when we were younger, but is it important to start that process right away, even if you're just kind of in the baby steps of it?
Yes, I do think it's important to start it right away. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have a home buying certificate, which basically what that is, it's a CD that you can add to, and it's specifically for home buying. So it offers a good rate for anyone that opens one, and then you can continually add to it. So if you don't have like, $10,000 immediately to put into it, that's okay. You can open it with as little as $1,000, and then you can continue adding to it as time goes on. So if you're not ready to buy a home right away, that's a great option to kind of start saving that money. Altra also just started, we have like a credit score dashboard on our online banking now, so you can keep track of your credit and where your score is at. So that's also another important thing. So if you didn't start out great in adulthood with a high credit score, that's okay. This is a way for you to monitor it and then also to start improving it over time. And once you get a handle of it and you start paying attention to it, I do think like people are like, oh, like I need to make my payments on time, or I need to like not max out my credit cards. Like little things can really drive that credit score up and really help increase your buying power for a home. But not just a home, like when you go get a car loan or you get other loans, like having, good credit and showing that payment history is really important for other things too, not just buying.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and I think a lot of us just don't get the education on credit when we're younger. And I know you guys at Altra, you have some of those financial teen classes that you guys offer, which seem really important. And I think maybe in school they don't, educate kids as much on that. I remember when I was in school, they would like take us to the bank and, back then they taught you to balance a checkbook and all that stuff. They don't do that anymore, but just some of that financial knowledge maybe isn't given out as much as it used to be. And I know I've asked other folks who have come here for the podcast from Altra, is it better to have, or is it worse, I guess, to have no credit versus bad credit? Because, sometimes if you come for a loan or something financial and you have no credit at all, you would think, oh, that's good. I don't have bad credit, but if I have no credit, how does that kind of play out?
Yeah, so we do see those situations. And no credit, it doesn't help with like your credit score and what rate you'll qualify for because you don't have a score.
Right.
But having like no credit isn't absolutely terrible. We do encourage you to accumulate some credit though, so you do have buying power.
Have some kind of a credit footprint, right?
But what we can do, like if you don't have any credit score, is we can check on non-traditional credit. So like, let's say you do rent an apartment and you pay car insurance and you pay a cell phone. There's ways for us to take a look at your payment history in a non-traditional way to still make a credit decision.
Yeah.
Now, all of those situations are very different from each other, and we can't guarantee that we can lend, but it is something we will look at.
Okay.
And there are some opportunities there. If you're a no credit person because you just don't have that history, well, then we will probably encourage you, hey, open a credit card for $500, charge your gas, pay it off,
right?
Start getting that payment history out there. You know, something
little things that will just start to build it up a little bit.
It doesn't have to be huge purchases. It doesn't have to be like a big car loan. It can very much be something small to start out with to generate that credit history. Now, bad credit is something different. That's usually when there's, maybe collections or late pays and things like that. We can still help people that are in those situations. It might just take a little longer because we're working up from a lower score to get you built back up. If you don't have credit, you're starting off good.
Yeah.
There's no bad history yet. So so getting that good history out there is what is important.
But and the other thing is you can always come back from bad credit. It's just going to take some time and some discipline, but it can be done.
100%.
Tara Mayberry is our guest. She is a real estate market manager at Altra Federal Credit Union here on the Dollars and Cents podcast. We are talking about residential lending and home buying and all those kind of things. We will leave it there, I think, Tara, unless is there anything else that you wanted to mention or point folks to the website and where they can find out more information about how you guys can help them?
Definitely check us out on altra.org. Like I mentioned earlier, Tammy Giles in our Winona location, if you're here in Winona. And it's never too late to start asking those questions. So reach out, set up an appointment, and start asking those questions of where you're at. It's never too early to get started. Like I mentioned, it takes time to buy a home. And with that low inventory out there, the sooner you get started, the easier it will be for them to help you guys get into that forever home.
Sounds great, Tara. Thank you so much. Thank you for the insight. Thanks for coming in. That is Tara Mayberry with Altra Federal Credit Union. You've been listening to Dollars and Cents here on the Latent Media Podcast Network. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Dollars and Cents is a monthly podcast presented by Altra Federal Credit Union and the Latent Media Podcast Network. Find this and other podcasts on demand at winonaradio.com.